The DNA test results sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I could open them. Lauren Mitchell stared at the white envelope, her hands trembling so badly she had to grip the edge of the granite countertop to steady herself. It was a Tuesday morning. Her husband, Kevin, had already left for his shift at the fire station. The kids were at school. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the thundering of her own heartbeat. She'd found the original test, the one Kevin had hidden in his truck 2 weeks ago while looking for his insurance card after a fender bender. It was dated 3 months earlier. 3 months he'd known. 3 months he'd been looking at her differently. 3 months of cold shoulders, late nights at the station, and conversations that died the moment she entered a room. The test was for their twin boys, Caleb and Carter, 10 years old, her whole world. And according to the paper she'd found crumpled in Kevin's glove compartment, they weren't his biological children. Lauren had immediately ordered her own test. She needed to see it with her own eyes, needed confirmation before her world completely shattered. Now the results were here. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister-in-law, Diane, still coming to lunch today, can't wait to catch up. Diane, Kevin's sister, the woman who'd introduced Lauren to Kevin 12 years ago at a 4th of July barbecue in Atlanta, the woman who'd stood beside her at her wedding, the woman who'd thrown her a baby shower when she was pregnant with the twins, the woman whose husband, Marcus, looked exactly like Caleb and Carter. Lauren's stomach turned. She grabbed the envelope, slid her finger under the seal and pulled out the paper. Her vision blurred as she read the results, then she read them again and again. The paper slipped from her hands and floated to the floor. Lauren sank into a chair, a sound escaping her throat, half laugh, half sob, because now she understood everything. The secret glances between Diane and Marcus at family gatherings, the way Diane always insisted on hosting Christmas, the college fund Marcus had mysteriously set up for the boys last year, the way Kevin had been pulling away from her ever since he found out the truth. But here's what Kevin didn't know, what nobody in his family knew. Lauren had known the truth all along. And what she'd done with that knowledge over the past 10 years, that was about to change everything. Want to know how a woman raises her husband's brother's children as her own and turns a devastating secret into the most powerful move of her life? Hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is going to take you places you never expected. Drop a like if you're ready for a story about secrets, survival, and the kind of strength that doesn't break, it rebuilds. Comment below and tell me, would you raise children that weren't biologically yours if you loved them? Because Lauren's answer to that question is about to teach us all something profound. Now let me take you back to where this all started. Back to 12 years ago, when Lauren Hayes met a firefighter at a summer barbecue and thought she'd found her happily ever after. Lauren Hayes stood in the backyard of a beautiful home in the suburbs of Atlanta, holding a red Solo cup filled with lemonade. She wasn't drinking and wondering why she'd let her best friend, Tasha, drag her to yet another barbecue where she didn't know anyone. "Come on, girl," Tasha had said that morning. "You've been single for 2 years, you work too much. You need to get out and meet people." "I meet people at work," Lauren had protested. "You're a pediatric nurse. You meet sick children and stressed parents. That doesn't count." So here Lauren was, a 28-year-old black woman with natural hair pulled back in a sleek bun, wearing a simple yellow sundress, standing awkwardly near the grill while strangers laughed and talked around her. She was about to make an excuse to leave when she heard a voice behind her. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere but here." Lauren turned to find a tall black man with deep brown skin, a clean-shaven face, and the warmest smile she'd seen in years. He wore a navy blue t-shirt that said Atlanta Fire Department and jeans that fit just right. "That obvious?" Lauren asked, unable to help smiling back. "Only to someone who feels the same way," he said, extending his hand. "Kevin Mitchell. My sister dragged me here. Said I needed to socialize more because apparently working 70 hours a week isn't a valid excuse for being single. Lauren Hayes, she said, shaking his hand. His grip was warm and strong. My best friend used almost the exact same words. Then I guess we're both hostages, Kevin said with a laugh that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. They talked for 2 hours straight. About work. He was a firefighter, she was a nurse. About Atlanta, grown up here, she'd moved from Birmingham 3 years ago for a job at Children's Health Care. About dreams, he wanted to make captain someday. She wanted to eventually work in the NICU with premature Bobbies. I love kids, Lauren said. Always have. I'm the oldest of 5, so I basically raised my younger siblings. Me too, Kevin said. I've got a younger sister and 2 younger brothers. Family means everything to me. Lauren felt something click into place. This man got it, got her. There you are, a woman's voice interrupted them. A light-skinned black woman with honey-colored hair styled in loose curls approached, smiling widely. She wore a coral sundress and carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew she was beautiful. Kevin, you've been hiding in the corner for 2 hours. I was about to send a search party. I wasn't hiding, Kevin said. I was having an actual conversation. Lauren, this is my sister, Diane. Diane, this is Lauren. Oh, so you're the reason my brother's been smiling for the first time in months, Diane said, her hazel eyes sparkling with mischief. It's so nice to meet you. Are you enjoying the party? I am now, Lauren said honestly. Good, well, don't let me interrupt. But Kevin, Marcus is looking for you. Something about the game starting. Tell him I'll be there in a minute, Kevin said. Diane winked at Lauren and walked away, her hips swaying. Sorry about her, Kevin said. She means well, she's just a lot sometimes. She seems nice, Lauren said. She is. She's been through some stuff, but she's got a good heart. Kevin asked for her number before she left that night. He called her the next day. They had their first date that weekend, dinner at a cozy Italian restaurant in Midtown followed by a walk through Piedmont Park. 3 months later, they were inseparable. 6 months later, Kevin told her he loved her. 1 year later, he proposed on the rooftop of the building where they'd had their first date, with the Atlanta skyline glowing behind them and tears streaming down both their faces. You're my person, Kevin said, sliding the ring onto her finger. I knew it the moment I met you. Will you marry me? Yes, Lauren said, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, 1,000 times yes. They got married 6 months later in a beautiful ceremony at a historic chapel in downtown Atlanta. Lauren wore a simple ivory dress. Kevin wore a sharp gray suit. Diane was the maid of honor. Kevin's best friend, a fellow firefighter named Troy, was the best man. Lauren's parents flew in from Birmingham. Her 4 younger siblings were there, all dressed up and teasing her about finally settling down. Kevin's family filled the other side of the chapel, his parents, his 2 younger brothers, and Diane with her husband, Marcus. Marcus was a quiet man, a few years older than Kevin, with light brown skin and an athletic build. He worked in construction management and didn't talk much, but when he did, people listened. He had kind eyes and a gentle demeanor that made Lauren like him immediately. Welcome to the family, Marcus said at the reception, giving Lauren a warm hug. Kevin's a lucky man. I'm the lucky one, Lauren said. She meant it. Kevin was everything she'd ever wanted. Kind, hardworking, devoted to family, funny, and so deeply in love with her, it sometimes took her breath away. Their first year of marriage was blissful. They bought a small house in Decatur, a suburb just outside Atlanta. Lauren continued working at the hospital. Kevin worked his rotating shifts at the fire station. They hosted family dinners. They took weekend trips to Savannah and Charleston. They talked about having kids someday, but agreed to wait a few years. I want to make captain first, Kevin said one night as they lay in bed, her head on his chest. I want to be able to provide for our family the way they deserve. We're already a family, Lauren said softly. I know, but when we have kids, I want to give them everything. The best schools, opportunities, experiences. I don't want them to struggle the way we did." Lauren kissed his chest. "They'll be so lucky to have you as their dad." Everything changed 2 years into their marriage. Lauren had been feeling exhausted for weeks. She'd chalked it up to working long shifts at the hospital, but when she started feeling nauseous in the mornings, she took a pregnancy test. Positive. She sat on the bathroom floor, staring at the little plus sign, tears streaming down her face. They hadn't been trying, but they hadn't been not trying either, and suddenly the idea of a baby, their baby, filled her with overwhelming joy. She planned an elaborate surprise for Kevin. She bought a tiny firefighter onesie and left it on his pillow with a note. "Looks like you're going to need to teach someone else to be brave. Coming March 2015. Kevin came home from his shift, found the onesie, and let out a shout that probably woke the neighbors. "Are you serious?" he said, scooping her up and spinning her around. "We're having a baby. We're having a baby," Lauren confirmed, laughing. He set her down gently, his hands cradling her face. "I love you so much. You're going to be the best mom. And you're going to be the best dad." Family was thrilled. Lauren's parents cried. Kevin's parents threw them a celebration dinner. Diane squealed and immediately started planning a baby shower, but something felt off. At the celebration dinner, Lauren noticed Diane and Marcus having a heated, whispered conversation in the kitchen. When Lauren walked in to get more ice, they both went silent and smiled at her too brightly. "Everything okay?" Lauren asked. "Of course," Diane said. "Just discussing logistics for the shower. Marcus thinks we should rent a venue, but I think hosting it at our house is more intimate." "Whatever you think is best," Lauren said. But the way Marcus was looking at Diane, concerned, almost worried, stuck with Lauren. At her 12-week appointment, the ultrasound revealed something unexpected. "Well," the doctor said, smiling at the screen, "looks like you're having twins." Lauren's hand flew to her mouth. "Twins. 2 healthy heartbeats. Congratulations." Kevin, who'd taken the morning off to come to the appointment, looked like he might faint. Then he started laughing. "Twins. We're having twins." "Twins run in families," the doctor said. "Do either of you have twins in your family history?" "No," Lauren said. "My dad's a twin," Kevin said. "I guess it skipped a generation." But when they told the family, Diane's reaction was strange. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. She hugged Lauren, but it felt stiff, forced. "Twins," Diane said quietly. "Wow, that's amazing." "Are you okay?" Lauren asked. "Of course, I'm just surprised. Twins are a lot of work." "We'll manage," Kevin said confidently. That night, Lauren couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She mentioned it to Kevin as they got ready for bed. "Diane seemed weird about the twins," Lauren said. "Weird how?" "I don't know, just off, like the news upset her or something." Kevin shrugged. "She's probably just processing. Diane's always been emotional, don't read into it." But Lauren couldn't stop reading into it. The pregnancy was hard. Lauren had terrible morning sickness for the first trimester. By the second trimester, she was exhausted all the time. By the third trimester, she was enormous and uncomfortable and ready to meet her bobbies. Diane threw her a beautiful baby shower at their home, a sprawling house in a nice neighborhood with a big backyard. The decorations were blue and green, neutral colors, since they decided not to find out the genders. All of Lauren's friends and family came. Kevin's family was there. Diane had invited half the neighborhood. It should have been a perfect day, but Lauren noticed Diane crying in the bathroom, not happy tears, real heartbroken sobs. Lauren knocked gently. "Diane, can I come in?" Diane quickly wiped her face and opened the door, forcing a smile. "Sorry, hormones, I'm fine." "Are you sure?" "Yes, this is your day. Let's get back to the party." But Lauren saw the way Diane looked at her belly, with longing and something that looked almost like guilt. The twins were born on March 15, 2015, 2 healthy baby boys. Caleb came first, weighing 6 pounds 3 ounces. Carter came 6 minutes later, weighing 6 pounds 1 ounce. Lauren held them both and felt her whole world shift. These tiny humans with their perfect little fingers and scrunched up faces were hers and Kevin's. "They're beautiful," Kevin said, his voice choked with emotion. "They're perfect." "They are," Lauren whispered. When Diane came to visit at the hospital, she brought an enormous teddy bear and a card. She held Caleb first, tears streaming down her face. "He's so precious," Diane said. "Do you want to hold Carter too?" Lauren asked. "No," Diane said quickly, too quickly. "I mean, yes, but I don't want to hog them. Kevin should hold him." Marcus came in right after, and when he saw the bobbies, his face went completely white. "You okay, man?" Kevin asked. "Yeah," Marcus said hoarsely. "Just. They're really something." As the months passed, Lauren fell into the exhausting rhythm of life with twin infants, sleepless nights, endless feedings, diaper changes that felt like they never stopped, but also pure joy, first smiles, first laughs. The way Caleb and Carter seemed to communicate without words, comforting each other when one cried. Kevin was an amazing father. He took paternity leave and spent those 2 weeks doing night shifts so Lauren could sleep. When he went back to work, he rearranged his schedule to be home as much as possible. "I never knew I could love anyone this much," Kevin said one night, holding both boys while Lauren finally took a shower. "Except you, but this is different, this is everything." But as the boys grew, Lauren started noticing things. They didn't look like Kevin at all. Everyone said bobbies change, that features develop. But as months turned into a year and a year turned into 2, it became impossible to ignore. Caleb and Carter had light brown skin, lighter than Lauren's, lighter than Kevin's. They had features that didn't match either parent. Their eyes were different. Their nose shapes were different. And they looked exactly like Marcus. The same light brown skin tone, the same facial structure, the same smile, even the same little mannerisms, the way they tilted their heads when they were confused, the way they laughed with their whole bodies. Lauren saw it. She knew Kevin eventually would too. And that's when she started piecing together what must have happened. Diane and Marcus had gotten married young, straight out of high school. They'd been trying to have kids for years with no success. Diane had cried to Lauren about it once, back before the boys were born. "We've tried everything," Diane had said, "but I can't get pregnant. The doctors say it's unexplained infertility. And Marcus, he wants kids so badly. I'm terrified he's going to leave me." Lauren had comforted her, told her there were options: adoption, IVF, surrogacy. But Diane had gone silent after that conversation, changed the subject. Now looking at her sons, at the children who were growing up to look exactly like Marcus, Lauren understood what must have happened, and she had a choice to make. When the boys turned 3, Lauren sat Kevin down one evening after they'd gone to bed. "We need to talk," Lauren said. "That sounds serious," Kevin said, mooting the TV. "Have you noticed that the boys don't really look like us?" Lauren asked carefully. Kevin's jaw tightened. "What are you saying?" "I'm not saying anything. I'm asking if you've noticed." Kevin was quiet for a long moment. "Yeah, I've noticed. And they're our sons. Genetics are weird, they're ours." But Lauren could see the doubt in his eyes, the question he didn't want to ask. She made a decision in that moment, a decision she'd stick with for the next 7 years. "You're right," Lauren said. "They're ours, that's all that matters." Kevin's shoulders relaxed. He pulled her close. "I love you, and I love them. Nothing else matters." "Nothing else matters," Lauren repeated. But she knew the truth was going to come out eventually. DNA doesn't lie. She just didn't know it would take 7 more years and a secret test for Kevin to find out. What she also didn't know, that finding out would destroy her marriage, but not in the way anyone expected. The confrontation happened on a Thursday evening in October. Lauren was making dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, the boys' favorite, when Kevin came home from his shift at the fire station. Usually, he'd walk in, kiss her, ask about her day, and go upstairs to shower. The boys would hear him and come running, and he'd scoop them both up despite the fact that they were getting too big to carry. But tonight, Kevin walked into the kitchen and set a folder on the counter beside her. Lauren's hand stilled on the wooden spoon. She knew what was in that folder. She'd been waiting for this moment for 2 weeks, ever since she'd found the original test results in his truck. We need to talk, Kevin said. His voice was flat, emotionless. The voice he used at accident scenes when he had to deliver bad news to families. Boys, Lauren called out calmly, dinner's in 20 minutes. Why don't you go wash up? Caleb and Carter, now 10 years old and tall for their age, groaned from the living room where they'd been playing video games. But Mom, Caleb started. Now please, Lauren said, her tone leaving no room for argument. The boys trudged upstairs. Lauren heard the bathroom door close. She turned off the stove, moved the pot to a cool burner and turned to face her husband. Kevin looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red-rimmed. His jaw was covered in stubble. His fire department t-shirt was wrinkled. How long have you known? He asked. Lauren took a breath. Known what? Don't, Kevin's voice cracked. Please don't make me say it, just tell me how long you've known. Lauren wiped her hands on a kitchen towel, buying herself time. This was the moment she'd been preparing for, planning for, dreading for 10 years. Since they were about 2 years old, she said quietly. Kevin's face crumpled. He grabbed the edge of the counter to steady himself. 2 years old, you've known for 8 years. Yes. And you didn't tell me. No. Why? The word came out as a roar. Why would you do that to me? Why would you let me believe? His voice broke. He couldn't finish the sentence. Lauren kept her voice steady. Because they're your sons, Kevin. In every way that matters, they're yours. They're not mine. Kevin slammed his hand on the counter, making the folder jump. The DNA test doesn't lie, Lauren. They're not my biological children. Keep your voice down, Lauren said sharply. The boys are upstairs. Kevin grabbed the folder, his hands shaking, and pulled out the papers inside. Probability of paternity, 0%. Do you know what that means? 0% chance. They're not mine. They were never mine. They are yours, Lauren said firmly. You were there when they were born. You got up for every midnight feeding. You taught them to ride bikes. You coached their soccer team. You read to them every night. You're their father. But I'm not their dad, Kevin shouted. Not really. Some other man is their biological father and you knew it. You knew it and you let me. He stopped, turning away from her, his shoulders shaking. Lauren's heart broke watching him. She wanted to reach out to comfort him, but she knew he wouldn't accept it right now. Who is he? Kevin asked, his voice barely above a whisper now. Who's the father? Lauren didn't answer. Kevin spun around. Tell me, you owe me that much. I don't know, Lauren lied. You're lying. Kevin stepped closer to her, not threatening but desperate. You know, I can see it in your face. Tell me who he is. Kevin, is it someone from the hospital, one of the doctors, someone you worked with? Lauren remained silent. Tell me, Kevin's voice rose again. I deserve to know who my wife cheated on me with, who the father of the children I've been raising is. I didn't cheat on you, Lauren said quietly. Kevin laughed bitterly. Then how do you explain this? He waved the papers. How do you explain the fact that my sons, the boys I thought were mine, aren't biologically related to me at all? There are other explanations, Lauren said. Like what? Immaculate conception. Like IVF, like sperm donation, like... Stop, Kevin said, his voice breaking. Just stop. If that were true, you would have told me. We would have done it together, but you didn't tell me, which means... He trailed off, his face going pale as understanding dawned. Oh God, you did cheat. I didn't cheat on you, Lauren said again, more forcefully this time. Then explain it to me, make it make sense. The sound of small footsteps on the stairs made them both freeze. Caleb appeared in the kitchen doorway, his face worried. Mom, Dad, why are you fighting? Lauren immediately shifted gears, her nurse training kicking in. She walked over to Caleb and knelt down to his level. We're not fighting, sweetie. We're just having a disagreement about something. Adults do that sometimes. It sounded like fighting, Caleb said, his brown eyes Marcus's eyes searching her face. Where's your brother? Lauren asked. He's scared. He's hiding in our closet. Lauren's heart clenched. Carter was the more sensitive twin, the one who internalized everything. Tell him to come down, dinner's ready. But, it's okay, baby. Everything's okay. Go get your brother. Caleb looked at Kevin, who had turned away, his shoulders rigid. The boy hesitated, then ran back upstairs. Lauren stood up and faced her husband. We need to finish this conversation later, not in front of the boys. There's nothing to finish, Kevin said without turning around. I'm going to pack a bag. I'll stay at Troy's for a few days. Kevin, I can't look at you right now, Lauren. I can't look at them. I need time. They're still your sons. Kevin finally turned to look at her, and the pain in his eyes nearly broke her. Are they? Because right now I don't know what they are. He walked out of the kitchen. Lauren heard him climbing the stairs, heard the boys' confused voices asking where he was going, heard him tell them he had to work a double shift. He was lying to them. He never lied to them. 20 minutes later, Kevin walked out the front door with a duffel bag, didn't look back and drove away. Lauren stood at the window watching his taillights disappear, then turned to find both boys standing behind her, tears streaming down their faces. Is Daddy coming back? Carter asked in a small voice. Lauren pulled both boys into her arms, holding them tight. Yes, baby, he's coming back. But even as she said it, she wasn't sure she believed it. The next morning, Lauren called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. She couldn't leave the boys. They'd barely slept, crawling into her bed in the middle of the night, something they hadn't done since they were 6. After she got them on the school bus, both of them clinging to her longer than usual, Lauren sat at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee and her phone. She had 3 missed calls from Diane. Lauren stared at the phone. Diane was the key to all of this, Diane and Marcus. The affair, if you could even call it that, had happened 12 years ago, before Lauren and Kevin got married, and Lauren was 90% sure Diane had been the one who orchestrated it. Lauren had pieced it together over the years, small comments, weird moments, the way Diane always insisted on family gatherings, the college fund Marcus set up, the way both Diane and Marcus couldn't quite look Lauren in the eye sometimes. Lauren suspected that Diane, desperate for a child and unable to conceive, had done something drastic. She'd either convinced her brother to donate sperm, or she'd done something even more calculated. The question was, did Marcus know? Did Kevin's brother know that he was the biological father of Kevin's sons? Lauren picked up her phone and called Diane. Diane answered on the first ring. Lauren, oh my God, I've been trying to reach you. Kevin called Marcus last night. He's devastated. What happened? You know what happened, Lauren said calmly. Silence on the other end. Diane, I need you to be honest with me, just this once. Did you do what I think you did? More silence, then quietly, can we meet in person? When? Now I'll come to you. 30 minutes later, Diane pulled into Lauren's driveway in her white Mercedes SUV. She looked immaculate as always, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, wearing expensive athleisure that probably cost more than Lauren's monthly grocery budget. But when Diane walked into the house and took off her sunglasses, Lauren could see she'd been crying. They sat in the living room. Lauren made tea neither of them would drink. I'm sorry, Diane said finally. I'm so sorry. Tell me what you did, Lauren said. Diane twisted her wedding ring around her finger. Marcus and I had been trying to have a baby for 5 years. Every month, negative test after negative test. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with either of us. They called it unexplained infertility. I remember, Lauren said. I was desperate. Marcus was starting to talk about adoption, but I wanted a biological child. I know that sounds selfish, but I did. And I knew Marcus wanted his own biological child too. So what did you do? Diane took a shaky breath. I asked Kevin to be a sperm donor. Lauren's stomach dropped. Even though she'd suspected something like this, hearing it confirmed was different. When? Lauren asked. 2 months before your wedding. You and Kevin had just gotten engaged. I told him that Marcus and I wanted to try IVF, but we needed a donor because of Marcus's low sperm count. Diane's voice cracked. That wasn't true. Marcus's count was fine, but Kevin didn't know that. He said yes because he's Kevin. He helps people. That's what he does. And Marcus, Lauren asked, did he know you were lying? Diane shook her head. Marcus thought we were using an anonymous donor from a sperm bank. He has no idea Kevin donated. I did it all through a clinic. Everything was legal and official, but I forged some documents, made it look like we'd gone through a sperm bank when really I'd arranged for Kevin's donation to be used. Lauren felt sick, so Marcus doesn't know. No, and Kevin didn't know either. He donated before you got married and then he forgot about it. Why would he think about it? He thought we'd used his sperm for IVF that didn't work out. I told him months later that the IVF had failed. But it didn't fail, Lauren said. No, Diane started crying. It didn't. I got pregnant, and when I had a miscarriage at 8 weeks, I was devastated. But then you got pregnant with twins, and when those boys were born and I saw them. She buried her face in her hands. I knew immediately. They looked like Marcus because Marcus and Kevin are brothers. They share DNA. The boys have Marcus's features because Marcus and Kevin have similar genes. Lauren's head was spinning. Does Kevin know he donated? I don't know. He might have forgotten. It was over 12 years ago and he only did it once. I told him we'd gone a different direction after he donated. But now he's done a DNA test, Lauren said. And he knows those boys aren't his. I know, Diane's face was blotchy from crying. Marcus called me this morning. Kevin told him about the test. He's asking questions. Marcus is confused because he thinks we used an anonymous donor. This whole thing is about to blow up. Lauren stood up and walked to the window. Her perfect life, the one she'd carefully built and protected for 10 years, was crumbling. Why didn't you ever tell me? Lauren asked. All these years, you've watched me raise these boys, watched Kevin be their father, and you never said a word. Because they were better off with you, Diane said simply. Lauren, you're an amazing mother. You and Kevin gave those boys everything. Love, stability, a real family. I couldn't have given them that. Marcus and I, we're not like you and Kevin. We fight. We have problems. Those boys deserved better. They deserve the truth, Lauren said. Maybe, but would knowing the truth have been better for them? Or for Kevin? He loves those boys with everything he has. Would you really want to take that away from him? Lauren turned to look at Diane. You're talking about them like they're objects, like they're things to be distributed to whoever can give them the best life. They're human beings. They're my sons. I know that, and I'm sorry. I made terrible choices. But please, Lauren, please don't tell Marcus the truth. It will destroy our marriage. Lauren laughed bitterly. Your marriage? My marriage is already destroyed. Kevin left last night. He thinks I cheated on him because I knew the boys weren't his and I didn't tell him. Diane's eyes widened. You knew. I figured it out when they were 2. They look exactly like Marcus. And I remembered you asking me about IVF and donors right before I got pregnant. I'm not stupid, Diane. I put it together. Then why didn't you say anything? Because I loved Kevin and I loved those boys, and telling the truth would have destroyed everything. Lauren's voice hardened. But the truth came out anyway. It always does. Diane stood up. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, Lauren said honestly. But you need to tell Marcus the truth. He deserves to know. Lauren, please. Tell him, Diane, or I will. After Diane left, Lauren sat in her living room and cried. Not delicate tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs. 10 years of holding it together, of carrying this secret, of protecting everyone, came pouring out. She cried for Kevin, who just had his world shattered. She cried for the boys who were about to learn a truth that would confuse and hurt them. She cried for herself, for the impossible position she'd been put in. And she cried because, despite everything, she didn't regret it. She didn't regret raising those boys. She didn't regret loving them. She didn't regret protecting Kevin's relationship with them for as long as she could. But now the protection was over. Now came the hard part. Her phone rang. It was Kevin. "Hello," Lauren answered, her voice hoarse. "I talked to Troy," Kevin said. "He's a retired lawyer. He says we need to figure out custody arrangements, and I want a divorce." The words hit like a physical blow. "Kevin, I can't do this anymore, Lauren. I can't look at you without wondering what else you've lied about. I can't look at those boys without wondering whose they really are." "They're yours," Lauren said desperately. "Kevin, please just let me explain." "There's nothing to explain. You knew they weren't mine and you let me believe they were. That's unforgivable." "I was protecting you." "No," Kevin said coldly. "You were protecting yourself. You didn't want to deal with the fallout, so you just pretended. Well, I'm done pretending. My lawyer will contact you next week." The line went dead. Lauren sat holding the phone, staring at nothing. Her marriage was over. 10 years of partnership, of building a life together, of raising children together, gone. But she wasn't done fighting, not yet. Because Lauren had spent 10 years preparing for this moment. 10 years putting pieces in place. 10 years building something that Kevin didn't know about. And what she'd built was about to change everything. 2 days later, Lauren received divorce papers. Kevin was asking for joint custody of the boys and a 50-50 split of assets. Lauren immediately called her own lawyer, a woman she'd been working with for the past 3 years, preparing for this exact scenario. Her lawyer's name was Patricia Reynolds, a sharp black woman in her 50s who specialized in family law. "He's moving fast," Patricia said, reviewing the papers. "But that works in our favor. He's emotional. He's not thinking clearly." "What do we do?" Lauren asked. "We respond, and we make sure those boys stay with you as their primary parent." "Will that be hard? He's their father. He's been their father for 10 years. Patricia looked at Lauren over her reading glasses. "Lauren, are you ready to use what we've prepared?" Lauren took a breath. "Yes, I'm ready." What Lauren had been preparing for 3 years was this: documentation, evidence, proof. She'd kept records of every doctor's appointment she'd taken the boys to, all of them. Every school conference, all of them. Every soccer practice, every parent-teacher meeting, every birthday party, every sick day. She documented Kevin's work schedule and how often he was actually home. She tracked his hours at the fire station, his overtime, his night shifts. She'd built a case showing that while Kevin was a good father when he was present, she was the primary caregiver. She was the one who knew the boys' teachers' names, their friends' names, their favorite foods, their fears, their dreams. She'd done it quietly, methodically, lovingly. Not because she planned to use it against Kevin, but because she knew that if the truth ever came out, she needed to be prepared to fight for her sons. "I'm not trying to take them away from him," Lauren told Patricia. "I'm trying to protect them. They need stability right now. They need to know that at least one parent isn't abandoning them." "Has Kevin seen them since he left?" Patricia asked. "No, he's called twice, but he keeps it short. The boys are devastated." Patricia made notes. That's not going to look good in court. A father who walks out and then immediately files for divorce and custody without even attempting reconciliation or therapy. "He's hurt," Lauren said. "He's processing. He's also making mistakes that could cost him." Over the next 2 weeks, things got worse. Kevin didn't come to Caleb's soccer game. He missed Carter's school play. He called sporadically but wouldn't come to the house. The boys stopped asking when Daddy was coming home. They just got quieter, more withdrawn. Lauren enrolled them in counseling. She explained to the counselor, a kind man named Dr. William Chen, that their father had left and they were struggling. "Are you and your husband planning to tell them the truth about their paternity?" Dr. Chen asked during a session without the boys. "I don't know," Lauren admitted. "Part of me thinks they deserve to know. Part of me thinks it will only confuse and hurt them." They're 10, Dr. Chen said gently. That's old enough to start understanding complex family dynamics, but young enough that they'll need a lot of support processing it. Do you think we should tell them? I think, Dr. Chen said carefully, that children are remarkably resilient when they feel loved and supported. The question isn't whether to tell them, it's how and when, and making sure that however they find out, they know that none of this changes how loved they are. Lauren thought about that conversation as she drove home. Maybe she had been wrong to keep the secret. Maybe honesty from the beginning would have been better. But she couldn't change the past. She could only move forward. At home, she found an envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a formal letter from Kevin's lawyer outlining custody demands and requesting financial documentation. Lauren sat at her kitchen table reading it, feeling numb. This was really happening. Her marriage was really over. Her phone rang. Marcus. Lauren, he said when she answered, we need to talk. Diane told me everything. Everything? Lauren asked. Everything about Kevin being the biological father, about the IVF, about everything. There was a long pause. I'm sorry, Marcus said finally. I had no idea. If I'd known Diane did that, I never would have. I'm just so sorry. How are you doing? Lauren asked. Marcus laughed bitterly. I'm processing the fact that my wife lied to me for 12 years, that the twins I thought were from an anonymous donor are actually my nephews, that Kevin, my little brother, is biologically the father of my children. How do you think I'm doing? Not great, Lauren guessed. Not great, Marcus confirmed. But I wanted you to know. Those boys are my sons in every way that matters. I've raised them, sort of. I mean, you and Kevin raised them, but I've been in their lives. I love them, and that's not going to change. Thank you, Lauren said softly. I also wanted to tell you that I'm planning to talk to Kevin. Try to help him understand that DNA isn't everything, that those boys need him. Good luck with that, Lauren said. He's not in a place to hear it right now. Maybe not, but I have to try. He's my brother, and those boys are. Well, they're all of ours, aren't they? Ours to love and protect. After they hung up, Lauren sat in the quiet house and thought about Marcus's words. They're all of ours. Maybe that was the answer. Maybe instead of fighting over custody and paternity and who had rights to what, they needed to focus on what was best for Caleb and Carter. Two boys who were loved by multiple adults. Two boys who had a father who raised them, an uncle who was biologically their father, and a mother who'd protected them through it all. That night, Lauren tucked the boys into bed and sat between their twin beds like she used to when they were little. Mom, Caleb said into the darkness, is Daddy ever coming home? Lauren took a breath. I don't know, baby. Your dad and I are having some problems, adult problems, but I need you both to know that those problems have nothing to do with you. Your dad loves you so much. Then why won't he come see us? Carter asked, his voice small. Because sometimes when adults are hurt, they need time to figure things out. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Do you love Daddy? Caleb asked. Yes, Lauren said honestly. I do very much. Then why can't you fix it? Because, Lauren said softly, sometimes love isn't enough to fix everything. Sometimes people make mistakes, and those mistakes have consequences, and we have to figure out how to live with those consequences. What mistakes? Carter asked. Lauren looked at her sons, these beautiful boys she'd raised, protected, and loved for 10 years. They deserved the truth. Maybe not all of it right now, but some of it. Your dad found out something that hurt him very badly, Lauren said. Something about our family, and right now he's trying to figure out what to do with that information. What did he find out? Caleb pressed. That's something your dad and I need to tell you together, Lauren said. When he's ready, when we're all ready, but until then I need you both to know that you are loved, you are wanted, and nothing will ever change that. She kissed both their foreheads and left the room, closing the door softly behind her. In the hallway, she leaned against the wall and finally let herself feel the weight of everything. The lies, the secrets, the love, the loss. But also the determination. Because Lauren wasn't done fighting, not for her marriage that might be over, but for her sons, for their relationship with Kevin, for their emotional well-being. She would fight until she had nothing left. What Lauren didn't know was that Kevin was fighting too, fighting his own battle with guilt, shame, anger, and love. And what neither of them knew, the biggest revelation was still to come. 3 weeks after Kevin left, Lauren received a call that changed everything. She was at work, her first full shift back at the hospital after taking time off to deal with the divorce proceedings. She just finished checking on a 6-year-old patient with pneumonia when her phone buzzed. The caller ID showed Kevin's fire station. Lauren's heart stopped. Firefighters didn't call from the station unless something was wrong. She stepped into an empty supply closet and answered. "Hello." "Lauren, it's Troy." Kevin's best friend sounded shaken. "Kevin's been hurt. There was a building collapse during a call. He's being transported to Grady Memorial right now." The phone nearly slipped from Lauren's hand. "How bad?" "Bad enough that they called me as his emergency contact. You need to get there." "I'm on my way." Lauren didn't remember the drive to Grady Memorial Hospital. One moment she was at Children's Healthcare. The next she was running through the emergency department doors, still in her scrubs, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might explode. Troy met her in the waiting room. His face was grim. "What happened?" Lauren demanded. 3-story building, fully involved. Kevin and his crew were doing a search and rescue when part of the second floor collapsed. He got trapped under debris. They had to dig him out. "Is he?" "He's alive," Troy said quickly. "But he's got a compound fracture in his left leg, possible internal injuries, and he was unconscious when they brought him in. They're evaluating him now." Lauren sank into a chair, her nursing training warring with her panic. Compound fracture, unconscious, internal injuries, those were serious. Those could be life-threatening. "Have you called his parents?" Lauren asked. "You were my first call. I'll call them now." "Wait," Lauren grabbed Troy's arm. "Call Marcus too, and don't tell the boys yet, not until we know more." Troy nodded and stepped away to make the calls. Lauren sat in that waiting room for 2 hours. Kevin's parents arrived, his mother immediately hugging Lauren despite the tension of the divorce. Kevin's father stood apart, his jaw tight, clearly torn between comforting his daughter-in-law and maintaining loyalty to his son. Marcus showed up 30 minutes later, Diane trailing behind him. Diane wouldn't meet Lauren's eyes. "Any word?" Marcus asked, sitting beside Lauren. "Nothing yet." They waited in tense silence. Lauren watched the doors to the trauma bay, her medical knowledge making her imagine the worst. Code blue, hemorrhage, emergency surgery. "Please," she prayed silently, "please let him be okay." Finally, a doctor emerged, a black woman in her 40s with tired eyes and blood on her scrubs. "Family of Kevin Mitchell." Everyone stood. "I'm Dr. Foster. Kevin's stable. We've taken him to surgery to repair his leg and address some internal bleeding. The next 24 hours are critical, but I'm cautiously optimistic." Lauren felt her legs give out. Marcus caught her, easing her back into the chair. "Can I see him?" Lauren asked. "Once he's out of surgery and settled in the ICU, yes. It'll be a few hours." After Dr. Foster left, Kevin's mother turned to Lauren. "You're still his wife. You should be the first one to see him when he wakes up." "Mom," Kevin's father started. "No, Richard. I don't care what's going on between them. That's her husband in there. And he's going to want to see her when he wakes up, whether he admits it or not." Lauren wanted to believe that, but she wasn't sure. 4 hours later, a nurse led Lauren to the ICU. Kevin lay in the bed, pale and bruised, his left leg in a cast elevated on pillows. Monitors beeped around him. An IV dripped medication into his arm. but his eyes were open. "Hi," Lauren said softly, approaching the bed. Kevin turned his head slightly to look at her. His voice was hoarse. "What are you doing here?" "Troy called me. You're hurt." "I'm fine." "You almost died, Kevin." He looked away. "Still doesn't mean you need to be here." Lauren pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. "I know you're angry with me. I know you don't want to see me, but I'm not leaving. Not until I know you're okay." "Why?" Kevin's voice cracked. "Why do you care? You lied to me for 8 years. You let me raise children who weren't mine. Why would you care if I live or die?" "Because I love you," Lauren said simply. "I never stopped loving you. And yes, I kept a secret from you. A huge secret, but everything else. Every moment we shared, every laugh, every dinner, every Sunday morning making pancakes with the boys, that was real. My love for you is real." Kevin's jaw tightened. A single tear slid down his cheek. "Do you know what it's like? Looking at those boys and wondering if everything I felt for them was a lie, if I'm even allowed to love them anymore." "You're their father," Lauren said firmly. "DNA doesn't change that. You taught them to tie their shoes. You stayed up all night when they had the flu. You coached their soccer team. You read them bedtime stories. You dried their tears. That's what makes you their father, not biology." "But they're not mine." "Yes, they are. They've always been yours. And if you can't see that right now, then you need to look harder." Kevin closed his eyes. "I'm so angry, Lauren, at you, at Diane, at this whole situation. But mostly I'm angry at myself." "Why?" "Because part of me knew. Not consciously, but somewhere deep down, I knew something was off. And I ignored it because I didn't want to face it. Because I loved them too much to question it." Lauren reached out and took his hand. He didn't pull away. "They miss you," she said softly. "Caleb cried himself to sleep last night asking when you're coming home. Carter barely talks anymore. They need their dad, Kevin, not their biological father. Their dad, you." Kevin's grip tightened on her hand. "I don't know if I can do this." "Yes, you can. Because you're the strongest man I know. And because those boys are worth fighting for." They sat in silence for a long moment, hands clasped, years of marriage and love and pain hanging between them. "I donated sperm," Kevin said suddenly. "Before we got married. I'd forgotten about it until I saw that test result. Diane asked me to donate for her and Marcus's IVF. I said yes because she's my sister and she was desperate, but I thought it didn't work. She told me it didn't work." "It worked," Lauren said, "but she lied to you and to Marcus and to me." "Do the boys know?" Kevin asked. "Not yet. I wanted to wait until you were ready, until we could tell them together." "I don't know how to tell them something like this." "We'll figure it out," Lauren said, "together." Kevin looked at her, really looked at her for the first time since the DNA revelation. "Can we fix this? Our marriage?" "I don't know," Lauren admitted. "We've both been hurt, we've both made mistakes, but I want to try if you want to try." "I want my family back," Kevin said, his voice breaking. "I want to go home." Lauren brought her other hand up to cradle his face. "Then come home. As soon as you're healed, come home." Kevin spent 5 days in the hospital. Lauren was there every day, often staying late into the night. She coordinated with the nurses, spoke with the doctors, made sure Kevin had everything he needed. On the 3rd day, they decided it was time to bring the boys to see him. Lauren prepped them carefully in the parking lot. "Daddy was hurt at work. He's okay, but he looks pretty banged up. He's got a cast on his leg and some bruises, but he's still Daddy okay." Both boys nodded solemnly. When they walked into the hospital room, Kevin's face transformed. All the anger, all the confusion, it melted away the moment he saw his sons. "Hey guys," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Daddy?" Both boys rushed toward the bed, then stopped, suddenly afraid to touch him. "It's okay," Kevin said. "I'm not that fragile, come here." Caleb and Carter climbed carefully onto either side of the bed. Kevin wrapped his arms around both of them, burying his face in their hair. "I missed you so much," Kevin said. We missed you too, Caleb said. Why did you leave? Kevin looked at Lauren over their heads. She nodded encouragingly. Your mom and I had a fight, Kevin said carefully. A big fight about something important. And I needed some time to think about things, but I'm sorry I left. And I'm sorry I didn't come see you. That was wrong of me. Are you coming home? Carter asked. As soon as the doctors say I can, Kevin promised. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Caleb asked bluntly. Kevin looked at Lauren. We're working on things. We made some mistakes, both of us. But we love you guys more than anything in this world. And no matter what happens between your mom and me, that will never change. The boys seemed satisfied with that answer. They spent the next hour telling Kevin about school, about soccer, about everything he'd missed. Lauren watched from the corner of the room, her heart full. This was right. This was how it was supposed to be. When visiting hours ended and she took the boys home, Caleb said in the car, "Dad called you Mom." What? Lauren glanced in the rearview mirror. When we first got there, Dad looked at you and called you Mom, not Lauren Mom. Lauren hadn't even noticed, but Caleb was right. Kevin had called her Mom, the way he used to when they were all together, one family unit. Maybe they really could fix this. 2 weeks after the accident, Kevin came home. Lauren had prepared the house, cleaned everything, cooked his favorite meal, made sure the boys had made welcome home signs. Kevin walked through the door on crutches, his leg still in a cast, and both boys tackled him so enthusiastically he nearly fell over. Easy, Lauren laughed, steadying him. He's still healing. That first week was awkward. Kevin slept in the guest room. They were polite to each other, careful, like strangers learning to share space. But slowly, things started to shift. Kevin started joining family dinners again. He'd sit at the table with his leg propped up, listening to the boys chatter about their day. He'd catch Lauren's eye across the table and smile. Small smiles at first, then bigger ones. They started talking again, really talking. About the IVF, about Diane's deception, about the years of secrets. Why didn't you tell me when you figured it out? Kevin asked one night after the boys went to bed. They sat in the living room, Kevin on the couch with his leg elevated, Lauren in the armchair across from him. Because I was terrified, Lauren admitted. I was terrified you'd leave, that you'd reject the boys, that our whole life would fall apart, so I just pretended I didn't know. I pretended everything was normal. That must have been exhausting. It was, but I thought I was protecting everyone. You, the boys, even Diane and Marcus. You can't protect everyone from the truth, Kevin said gently. Eventually, the truth comes out. It always does. I know that now. Kevin shifted on the couch, adjusting his leg. I've been thinking a lot these past few weeks about fatherhood, about what it really means, and I realized something. What? Biology is just science. It's DNA and chromosomes and genetics, but being a father, that's choice. Every morning I chose to get up with those boys. Every soccer game, every bedtime story, every homework struggle, I chose that. I chose them, and they chose me. Lauren felt tears forming. They love you so much. I love them too, more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. And that doesn't change just because we don't share DNA. I'm their father. That's not up for debate anymore. What about us? Lauren asked softly. Kevin was quiet for a long moment. I don't know yet. I'm not going to lie and say I'm over what happened. The secret hurt. The lies hurt. But I also understand why you did it. And I know you were trying to protect our family. I was. I need more time, but I'm not leaving again. I'm here. We're going to figure this out. It was enough. For now, it was enough. 1 month after Kevin came home, they sat the boys down for the conversation they'd been dreading. They chose a Saturday morning, made pancakes first, the boys' favorite, got everyone comfortable in the living room. Then they began. Caleb Carter, Lauren started. Your dad and I need to talk to you about something important, something about our family. Both boys immediately looked worried. Nobody's dying, Kevin added quickly, and we're not getting divorced, but there's something you need to know about how you were born. Over the next 20 minutes, they explained it as simply as they could. That Lauren and Kevin had wanted Bobbies. That Kevin's sister, Aunt Diane, had wanted a baby too but was having trouble. That Kevin had helped them by donating sperm. That there was a mix-up, and the sperm that was supposed to go to Aunt Diane ended up being used for Lauren instead. They didn't mention Diane's deception. They didn't mention the years of secrets. They just explained that biologically, genetically, Kevin was their father but through a medical procedure rather than the usual way. "So Uncle Marcus isn't our biological dad?" Caleb asked, trying to process. "No," Kevin said. "I am, but the important thing is that none of this changes anything. I'm your dad. I've always been your dad, and I'll always be your dad." "Does Uncle Marcus know?" Carter asked. "He does now," Lauren said, "and he wants you to know that he loves you very much. He's still your uncle. We're all still family." The boys were quiet, thinking. "Do we have to call you something different?" Caleb finally asked Kevin. "What do you mean? Like, are you still dad, or are you something else now?" Kevin's eyes filled with tears. "I'm still dad. I'll always be dad." "Okay," Caleb said simply. "Then I don't care about the biology stuff. You're my dad." Carter nodded in agreement. "Yeah, you're our dad." Just like that, the crisis that had torn their family apart for months was resolved by two 10-year-old boys who understood what the adults had struggled to accept. Family is about love and choice, not DNA. 3 months after the accident, Lauren and Kevin sat in marriage counseling with a therapist named Dr. Sarah Williams. "What do you want from this marriage?" Dr. Williams asked them during their 5th session. "I want trust," Kevin said. "I want to know that Lauren will come to me with hard things instead of hiding them." "I want forgiveness," Lauren said. "I want Kevin to forgive me for the secret, and I want to forgive myself." "Do you forgive her?" Dr. Williams asked Kevin. Kevin thought about it. "I'm getting there. I understand why she did it. I understand she thought she was protecting us. But forgiveness is a process. I can't just flip a switch." "That's fair," Dr. Williams said. "Lauren, do you accept that Kevin needs time?" "I do. I just hope he doesn't need forever." Kevin reached across the space between their chairs and took Lauren's hand. "Not forever, but maybe a while longer." They worked through it session by session. They talked about trust, about communication, about the foundation of their marriage. They learned to be honest even when it hurt. They learned to listen even when they didn't want to hear. Slowly, painfully, beautifully they healed. 6 months after Kevin came home, he moved back into their bedroom. They didn't make a big announcement to the boys. They just started sharing space again. Started falling asleep talking the way they used to. Started waking up together, hands finding each other in the dark. 1 year after the DNA revelation, Kevin sat at the breakfast table with Lauren and the boys, and he realized something. He was happy. Not perfectly happy. They still had hard days. They still had moments of tension, old wounds that ached in certain weather. But they were together. They were family. "Dad," Caleb said, interrupting Kevin's thoughts, "can you come to my science fair next week? I'm doing a project on genetics." Kevin nearly choked on his coffee. Lauren shot him an amused look. "Genetics, huh?" Kevin said. "Yeah, it's really cool. Did you know that brothers can have the same DNA even if they have different parents? Well, not the same, but similar, because genetics are passed down through families." "I did know that," Kevin said, smiling. "And yes, I'll be at your science fair, wouldn't miss it." Carter jumped in. "And Dad, my soccer team made playoffs. Will you be able to coach?" "My leg's completely healed," Kevin said. "So yeah, I'll be there." Lauren watched her boys chattering with their father and felt overwhelming gratitude. They'd survived. Against all odds, through all the pain and secrets and heartbreak, they'd survived. That evening, after the boys went to bed, Kevin found Lauren in the kitchen doing dishes. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" "For fighting for us, for not giving up, for loving those boys enough to make the hard choices." Lauren turned in his arms to face him. "Thank you for coming back, for choosing us, for choosing to be their dad even when you didn't have to." "I'll always choose you," Kevin said. "All three of you, that's what family means." He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. A kiss that said we made it. A kiss that said we're going to be okay. 2 years after the DNA revelation, the Mitchell family gathered for a barbecue at Lauren and Kevin's house. Kevin's parents were there, playing with Caleb and Carter in the backyard. Lauren's parents had driven up from Birmingham. Kevin's brothers showed up with their wives and kids. And Marcus and Diane came too. It had taken time to repair that relationship. Marcus had eventually forgiven Diane, though they'd gone through their own intensive marriage counseling. Diane had apologized to Lauren and Kevin countless times. Now she approached Lauren in the kitchen, where Lauren was preparing potato salad. "Can I help?" Diane asked tentatively. "Sure," Lauren said. "You can chop the celery." They worked in silence for a few minutes. "They've gotten so tall," Diane said, glancing out the window at the boys. "They have. They'll be teenagers before we know it." "Lauren," Diane said quietly, "I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry. What I did was selfish and destructive and I hurt everyone. But you took what I broke and you fixed it. You saved this family." Lauren set down her spoon and looked at Diane. "I didn't save anything. We all did. Kevin chose to stay. The boys chose to understand. Marcus chose to forgive you. We all made choices to heal. Still, you're remarkable. Those boys are lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have them." Outside, Kevin threw a football with the boys. They were 12 now, both of them shooting up in height, their voices starting to change. They looked like a mix of all their DNA, Kevin's expressions, Marcus's build, Lauren's smile. But more than that, they looked loved, happy, secure. Kevin caught Lauren watching from the window and waved. She waved back, her heart full. "Hey, Mom," Caleb called. "When's the food ready? We're starving." 10 minutes, Lauren called back. "Mom, Lauren, Mom." Because that's what she was. Not because of biology or genetics or DNA tests. But because of love, because of choice, because of the 1,000 small moments that make a family real. Later that night, after everyone had left and the boys were in bed, Lauren and Kevin sat on their back porch watching fireflies dance in the summer darkness. "Do you ever regret it?" Kevin asked. "All of this, the secrets, the pain, the struggle." Lauren thought about it. "I regret the secrets. I regret the pain we all went through, but regret the boys, regret our family, never, not for a single second." "Me neither," Kevin said. He took her hand, lacing their fingers together. "We've built something pretty amazing, you know." "We have. Those boys are going to change the world someday." "I know." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the crickets and the distant sound of their sons breathing through the open windows above. "I love you," Kevin said. "I love you too." And that was the truth that mattered most, not the DNA results or the paternity tests or the biological facts. Just love, simple, complicated, messy, beautiful love. The kind of love that builds families, that survives storms, that chooses to stay even when leaving would be easier. The kind of love that makes you a parent. 5 years later, Caleb and Carter stood in caps and gowns, waiting to receive their high school diplomas. In the audience, Lauren sat between Kevin and Marcus. Diane sat on Marcus's other side. They'd all come together to watch the boys graduate. "Can you believe it?" Kevin whispered to Lauren. "They're graduating high school." "I know. Where did the time go?" When Caleb's name was called, he crossed the stage confidently. When Carter's name was called moments later, he followed his brother, both of them grinning. After the ceremony, The families gathered for photos. "Okay, boys with parents," the photographer called. Caleb and Carter stood between Lauren and Kevin. Kevin's arm was around Lauren's waist. Her hand rested on Caleb's shoulder. But then Marcus stepped into the frame too. "All the parents," Marcus said with a grin. And Diane joined on the other side. The photographer looked confused. "So how are we related here?" "It's complicated," Caleb said, laughing. "We're family," Carter said simply. "That's all that matters." The photographer shrugged and took the photo. Later at the celebration dinner, Lauren pulled both boys aside. "Your dad and I are so proud of you," she said. "Both of you. You've grown into such incredible young men." "Thanks, Mom," Caleb said. "We learn from the best," Carter added. "You learn from a lot of people," Lauren corrected. "Your dad, Uncle Marcus, Aunt Diane, your grandparents. It takes a village." "Yeah, but you and Dad are the center," Caleb said. "You're the ones who showed us what real love looks like, what real family looks like." Lauren hugged both her sons, blinking back tears. "When did you get so wise?" "We've always been wise," Caleb joked. "You just didn't notice." Kevin joined them, slinging his arms around both boys' shoulders. "What are we talking about over here?" "Just telling Mom how awesome we are," Carter said. "Ah, so the truth," Kevin said with a grin. They stood there, the four of them, and Lauren thought about the journey they'd taken. The secrets revealed, the pain endured, the healing that came slowly and intentionally. She thought about DNA tests and paternity results and biological truths. And then she thought about what really mattered. These two boys who called her mom. This man who'd chosen to stay and fight for their family. This imperfect, complicated, beautiful family they'd built together. Biology had brought them together in the most unexpected way. But love, real, intentional, chosen love, had made them a family. And that was the only truth that mattered. Lesson to be learned from this story. Family isn't defined by DNA. It's defined by love, choice, and commitment. Yes, Lauren kept a devastating secret. Yes, that secret caused tremendous pain when it came out. But she kept it because she understood something fundamental. Being a parent isn't about biology. It's about showing up. It's about loving unconditionally. It's about choosing every single day to be present for your children. Kevin learned that lesson the hard way. He almost lost his sons because he was focused on genetics instead of relationship. But in the end, he realized that those boys were his in every way that mattered, not because of DNA, but because of love. The boys learned that families come in all shapes and sizes, that sometimes the truth is complicated, but love is simple, that they were surrounded by adults who all loved them, all wanted the best for them, all chose to be in their lives. If you've ever questioned what makes a real family, this story is your answer. It's not blood. It's not DNA. It's not genetics. It's love, it's choice, it's commitment. It's showing up day after day, year after year, and saying, "I choose you, I choose this, I choose us." That's what makes a family real. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or made you think differently about family, please hit that subscribe button. Drop a like on this video, and comment below telling me, what does family mean to you? Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's struggling with their own family drama, someone who needs to know that love is always enough. Until next time, remember, the family you build is just as important as the family you're born into, sometimes more so. Take care of yourselves and each other. I'll see you in the next story.